Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world. It's once again the time of the WADcast, the Writers, Actors, Directors podcast. This is episode number 129. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Brandon. I got nothing.
Okay. Yeah. Brandonovich Jonkovich will help. Listen, everyone, happy Friday night. It's good to, well, not see you guys, but have you guys actually see us, because last week we were having, I see you too. I'm saying, but like last week, though, we were having that issue with my camera, and in solidarity, you joined me and shut your camera off to where we just had like a technical difficulties episode.
Yeah.
Nothing new to the show. We've had plenty of those. It does happen. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm not going to talk too long because we are running a little behind. So, Josh, would you like to jump into it and introduce our lovely guests that we have on the screen with us?
Yes, absolutely. I know what you're thinking. Hey, guys, you do the Writers, Actors, Directors podcast, but there's that subtitle that sometimes I forget to say, but it's there. And everybody that helps bring movie magic to life. And tonight we have somebody that absolutely helps make movie magic come to life, and that is Whitney Anne Adams, costume designer. Welcome to the show, Whitney. We are so glad to have you here.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
It's very awesome to have you on here. And you work costuming, and I don't think people really understand like how much work goes into costuming. But more importantly, what costuming does for the actual theme and tone of the movies or TV shows or whatever productions. It could be a commercial production, but a lot goes into it, and it really creates this feeling of I guess like authenticity, like with what you're watching. So, Josh, I'll let you start off the interrogation because you did all the like work in getting her on our show, and so I will go over here and I will mute my mic very gently so you don't bite me.
Okay. Well, I like to start off with some background. Where are you from, and what made you decide that this was the field you wanted to get into?
I'm originally from Northern California. I was born in Berkeley, and then I went to school in San Diego, so California girl. But I've somehow ended up on the East Coast. But I started college pre-med, and that lasted 2 weeks. And my one fun class, in addition to chemistry and calculus, was Intro to Theater Design. And that was it. I knew within 2 weeks, and sort of like a gut feeling. I've only had a couple of those in my life where I couldn't really describe why I knew I had to be a costume designer, but sort of look at my history with my family. We grew up watching movies every night, and, film was a huge part of my childhood. And I think that sort of was always in the back of my head. But I started out as a theater designer, and then I moved to New York and then fell into film after that.
That's cool.
Yeah, you've done quite a bit. Like you've been pretty busy, like just right out the gate with doing that. Like I was reading up. If I'm not mistaken, I know you probably worked on a few independent things here and there, like shorts and stuff like that. But you've worked on I believe The Great Gatsby was like your first like really
that was my
big.
That was my first movie, actually. Like my first movie project ever.
Wow, that is impressive. And, like I know you were like an assistant to the costume designer.
Yeah, it was the costume design assistant. So basically the second costume designer, and it was a wild ride. It was like a year of my life.
Yeah, I'm not knocking like being the assistant, because like that being an assistant even then, like that is an A-list production. There was a lot, especially being like very much a reimagining of The Great Gatsby. It followed the novel, but I mean, like I don't remember The Great Gatsby having like any like hip hop music in it.
Right. Yeah, we're one of the 2013 audience to sort of be like, what would it feel like to be at those parties and in that world? So we sort of did the combination of what is the 2013 audience going to feel? And then that we made the skirts and dresses a little bit shorter, the heels higher. And so we did all of our months and months of research, but then we sort of, changed it to feel a little bit more modern.
So mixing it with like the cocktail dress design for like the 1920s to a more modern era, like I guess like an amalgamation between the two then.
It's mostly set in period, but we did use some modern fabrics and like do a little bit of styling changes. So it's mostly 20s correct, but then we did little tiny alterations to make it feel a little bit more modern, but still very much rooted in the 20s.
Oh yeah. Oh, you can see that even like as little as like Leonardo DiCaprio's suit. Like you can actually see it's a very modern looking suit with like the old school like 1920s like borderline depression era like just like aesthetic to it. So
yeah, instead of going with a tail suit, which the wealthy gentleman would wear at the time, and most of the other men in the party scenes are wearing tail suits, he had an actual tuxedo on, so it felt more modern. And he felt like new money instead of all of the other guys who are the old money.
Yeah. And I'm still a sucker for the theory that The Great Gatsby is really a follow up to the Titanic, and that's really Jack from Titanic.
Wouldn't that be swell?
It just makes sense. Josh, what do you have? You put yourself on mute.
Yeah, of course I did, because I got a kitty cat talking to me over here, and it'd be rude to go.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
The cat's not trained to be on the show. So, I mean, The Great Gatsby's a crazy place to start. So what comes next? You have that under your belt, and how do you choose where to go next? Is it strictly what's available, or do you have like a vetting process that you decide this seems interesting, I'll do that rather than this?
Well, I actually stayed working with Baz and Catherine for many years. So Gatsby was my first project with them, but I did many more things. I was sort of an in-house design assistant in their world. Like we did Strictly Ballroom, the stage musical. We did the Chanel No. 5 commercial with Gisele Bündchen. We designed a Plaza hotel room that's still there. That's a Great Gatsby themed. So all sorts of different odd jobs like that. Worked on several Met Galas. And so I was with them for a long time. And then after all of that experience that I gained, I got to go off and then do my own projects. And then my first feature I designed myself actually became a thing because of them. They're Baz's assistant, Skylar Weiss, who now is back with the company, running the company. At the time, he was producing indie films, and he connected me with one he was working on, and that was The Eyes of My Mother. And that's how I met Nick Pesh and started my own design journey.
Okay. So I'm just like, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, like, fresh out of college, like, I mean, there are people that I have a friend of mine that's a set designer out here, and I know her from New Jersey. We went to high school together, and with her, I met up with her when I first moved back out here in 2017, I think, Josh, somewhere around there. And after like I think 6 years, she was just like finally getting into even like just like set design, like like getting off of like the training from everything else. And I would make jokes because she sucked at like drawing, but like it was, I know it's got nothing to do with set design, but still, just
I suck at drawing too, so that's why we have illustrators.
It's okay. I'm great at drawing. I just have no time to do it anymore. But no, it's like so. But my point being is that it took her a while to even get like a studio gig. Like everything else is like just like small little things here and there, but like to set design things, it was like like either like a horror short film that had like no budget, and she had to get creative with like how to make it look okay. But she finally got herself in the door to do it. So I mean, for you to get like a A-list gig.
Well, it's a crazy story, actually. I feel like I'm one of the luckiest people ever, and I'll tell you the brief version. But I moved so when I was graduating from college in San Diego, and this was right when Baz and Catherine's movie Australia was coming out. and they had this partnership with Apple where they did these 10-minute video podcasts, and it was like behind the scenes directing, behind the scenes costume design, and several of them had contests attached to them, and it was for high school and college students. And so I'm in the middle of like trying to graduate, and I saw they were having this contest, and the costume one was design a costume for Nicole Kidman's character when she arrives in Australia. So design the costume, send it in. I agonized because I didn't put a hat on her, and I was like, well, I'll never win now. And there was several like levels of prizes. There was like, you can win an iPod, a computer, and then the grand prize between both high school and college was a trip to Australia.
Okay.
And I entered the contest, forgot about it, moved to New York. I was working in a Broadway costume shop. I worked there for 3 years and as a tailor. And one day I got an email saying I won the entire contest and I won a trip to Australia. And then I emailed Catherine's website being like, hey, won your contest. Thank you for having it. Baz and Catherine weren't in Australia when I went there, but their assistant is like, oh, do you want to come by their house and we'll have tea in their garden? I was like, yes. So I went and had tea with their head design assistant at their house when I was in Australia. And then 2 years passed. I see Baz is going to be the chairperson of the New York Musical Theater Festival in 2010. So I bought a ticket to the gala. I emailed the assistant saying, hey, I happen to be going to the same gala that they're going to. Can I meet them? And then, long story short, they're like, hey, what are you doing for the next 3 weeks? Can you come work for us? And then 3 weeks turned into many, many, many years. And The Great Gatsby. So
nice.
Pretty crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's all like, could you imagine that? Just like going back to your usual routine and everything else, like worrying where your next, like, I'm not going to say you're like, like a starving artist, but like, let's face it, I've lived in New York City. Like, I mean, I live nearby Chelsea. I know very well how expensive it is out there.
Yeah.
And I could just imagine, like, for me and Josh, with us, it'd be more like the screenwriting aspect of things. Like I've had a script, I think, what was it? The Groomsman, Josh, that got like, out of like an international script, like I almost got like first place. I was like just like a few down from first place with that one, but I was on it. Like I was always like checking my email every single day. I can only imagine going to sleep, going back to like my regular job and everything else, like having like such little like I don't want to say like, well, like having like doubt or second guessing myself, and then just like one day be like, oh yeah, you won this thing you never thought that you'd win. And you aced everything. So we need you now to fly to Australia. And then like from there, just like having steady, like, I mean, that's amazing.
It's crazy. I still can't believe it all happened. And the fact that they, took a chance on me, but I mean, I worked my butt off once I was given that chance, but it was definitely, the door was hugely open for me because of this crazy contest, and then me following up and sending the letter. And I mean, it just goes to show you never know what one letter or one email will do to change your life.
Absolutely. And this also goes to show, see, Josh, one thing that you and I have seen in like some of these, well, we were in a few screenwriting groups on Facebook together. And we have like the professionals in the group, i.e. the people that, not to knock anyone that writes, if you write, you're a writer in my mind. But people who have never even had so much as a pitch to anyone, talking down to people and saying, hey, joining a contest is a waste of your time. And my advice is always like, it's never a waste. It's how you get your name out there.
Exactly.
Especially if you live like in the Midwest, like say you live in like, I don't know, Kansas, somewhere like that. Like, like, or I'm like Wisconsin, like, oh, I don't live near a studio, I'm going to enter a contest. Like that could be your ticket into the industry. And as a writer, you can stay in your ass in Wisconsin or Kansas. But with you, like, you were in a situation where it made sense, definitely for you, working off of Broadway, costuming in Broadway. Like, I can only imagine the stress for that, because that's got to be like a much more harsh deadline at times and immediate fixes for things that go wrong on set in front of a live audience.
And for me, I was working in the shop making all the clothes. So, even a chiffon, like light dress, you have to make it like armor. It has to withstand 8 shows a week for years. And so that was a whole different way of like thinking and working. And like so much of how I design now is because of my knowledge of tailoring and that foundation. And there was a lot of stressful sewing happening. But I got to work on Liza Minnelli's personal team. I did a lot of her personal tailoring. And but yeah, it's a lot of like, well, this will help me somehow. You try to find different avenues in the industry. The great thing about costumes is there's so many different jobs that exist that will gain you work experience. But when you're writing, it's a lot more solitary, and it's a lot more, I have to,
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is my little section of the entire apartment right here, like this little L-shaped desk with my knickknacks, and this is my
save all my stuff behind me.
yeah, this little corner here with my Nintendo. This is like where I can go. And my amazing Josh, you know this one, my amazing co-writer, my Magic 8 Ball.
Yes.
Nice.
So
Nice.
if it weren't for that, Bad Agent would not have gotten made. But so I can only imagine what it's like. It's like having you as a friend for Halloween.
My friends know better than to ask me, because I will not help them.
See, I'd still be that friend. It's like, oh, come on. Like, no, I can only imagine like how exhausted you are. Like, by come Halloween, it's like, no, I'm not making you a damn costume. Go away.
Right. I don't dress up myself because I'm just too tired from my day job. But growing up, Halloween was absolutely my favorite holiday. Like, my birthday is September 30th, so it always pushed my birthday party to October so I could have a Halloween themed birthday party. So Halloween has always been my favorite, and it all sort of makes sense now. I loved the costumes. I loved all of that. And I make a lot of horror movies, and I love horror. So it all fits in together.
Absolutely. Josh, I'm not going to hijack this whole conversation. You want to jump in here, and I'll
You want me to say stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. You're so polite and patient. Like I'm just like staring at you, and
I'm sorry, this is kind of mind-blowing to me.
Oh, shut your damn mouth up. I ask you to say stuff all the time if I'm done. Come on. Like,
yeah, you're very wordy sometimes, Brandon.
well, I get excited when we have guests, Josh. Okay, let's not do this in front of our guests.
Fine. But we will definitely be talking about this before we go to bed.
We will.
Fine.
But you love me. Go ahead.
So, Whitney, you mentioned that you love, horror movies, and it seems like you do seem to work on quite a few of them. What was your first foray into putting together a horror movie as costuming?
The first one I did was The Eyes of My Mother, that first feature that I did. And it's a black and white, really psychologically disturbing horror movie. It was really interesting to have the first film that I designed myself in black and white. And that was its own challenge. And so it was really like boosting textures and high contrast patterns, and, really trying to find the moodiness in that. And there was a lot of, gore or hints of gore. And I just love working with gallons of blood. It's always fun.
Who doesn't?
Right.
I was recently looking at buying a 5-gallon bucket of stage blood. Not because I need it for anything, but
it's always good to have.
You never know.
Buddy, if you were to buy that, and when I come into town at the end of this month, when I'm visiting in Jacksonville, that would not go to waste. You know that, right?
I would hope not.
We'd make some.
Sure we get here in time.
We would do some chalk outlines and just mess with people.
Yeah, but Florida,
you know what? You're right. It's Florida. Jacksonville is a lot like LA. No one would even bat an eye.
The most you'd get is someone walking by going, I wonder if it was a gunshot or a gator.
It would be a Shaun of the Dead moment. You'd have someone staring out of can of soda, slipping on the blood, and just like going about their day. Oh God.
100%.
I'm sorry, Whitney. Like, this is unfortunate we get sidetracked with stupid.
No, it's totally fine. I love the conversation.
So, see, it's like I just okay. So going back to horror, there's one thing I was talking to Josh about when he mentioned having you on our show. I think the other week we were talking about this, and I've watched Freaky. I've watched We Have a Ghost. I know a lot of friends that have watched them. A lot of them have loved them. And I'm looking forward to bragging about how we have the costume designer for both on our show to discuss this.
You haven't already?
I've mentioned to a few of them, and I get the whole like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll listen to the show. Yeah, I can't wait. Like, oh, that's I'm so proud of you. He's like, okay, thanks, Mom. You want to? She didn't even chime in yet. The thing is like still. So with things like Vince Vaughn, We Have a Ghost. in Freaky We Have a Ghost. I'm sorry. Yeah, Vince Vaughn. Starring Vince Vaughn. With Freaky, one thing I loved is how, like, I assume, like, as a costume designer, you had to find something that was going to be really prolific for him, like much in like the chagrin of like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees or something like that. So like, how do we make him look like he's actually like a slasher for this, but then also to give like the girl who he possesses, who gets possessed by his soul, how to make her look from like this very, very um I want to say like conservative style.
Grandma vibes.
Very, very conservative grandma kind of style to
Yeah.
having like that badass red leather jacket, the boots and everything else, the hair tied back so damn tight, but just absolute, like, go from a sweet girl next door to absolute predator psycho ass. That's,
That was very fun.
so it's like, did you meet with the actress and also with Vince Vaughn? I feel so bad. Like, her name's on the tip of my tongue. I had to pull it up.
Catherine Newton.
Yes,
She was awesome. Newton. Yeah.
No, like, I haven't gotten a chance to meet her. I've met Vince Vaughn like at a public event, but and he was actually pretty cool to talk to. He's funny.
He's super funny. He's like the tallest man, and very funny.
Surprisingly, a very, very nice guy. I've only never known him to be like what he plays in movies, but actually a very nice guy.
Yeah, we had a fun time. He's great.
But I can only imagine like what did it feel like when they came out and like when they actually tried the costumes on for the first time, when you showed them what they're going to look like. Like what's it like for you to show them their characters, who they're going to play for X amount of time, and how they're going to carry themselves? Well, not how they're going to carry themselves, but like what they're going to wear, like as a way to get into the acting spirit to carry themselves in either like a more innocent or a more predatory way. Like, what's it like for you to see that?
Oh, well, my favorite thing is the fitting room and getting to really find the character together. I mean, the process is super collaborative. I am the designer at the end of the day, but we really find things together. And it starts with me sitting down with the director and writer, with Chris, and talking through like, what do we want? And then I go and get a tons of images, and then we start paring down what works. And actually, my images for Vince Vaughn's Butcher, I had only 2 photos, and that was it.
Oh, wow.
But part of my research process was finding every slasher villain that exists and being like, X can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. And then finding what other things exist that's new, that's different. And, the 2 photos I landed on, one was a truck driver, a photography series of truck drivers, just their torsos, not even their heads. It was very interesting. And then the other one was a miner in 1972. So I took the miner's pants, the idea of the miner's pants from 1972, and then this truck driver's top, and then I sort of mashed them together, and I shopped those pieces. And I needed 20 copies of his costume because he's in it the entire movie, and blood and all the rips and things that happen. And everything I do is sort of based on story. I'm like, okay, well, where did these clothes come from? So I imagine the butcher would be killing, blue collar workers at gas stations or somewhere like out in the outskirts of town. So everything is based on plot and story, and it has to be, especially because the movie is so fantastical and goes into a supernatural place. Everything else has to be really grounded in order to sell that idea. And then same with Millie the butcher in Millie's body. Where did that outfit come from? It had to come from somewhere that made sense. And so Millie herself has these grandma, vibes. And so I love the moment, like Chris wrote in, like where, he's going through her closet and he's like, this is all terrible. And then goes into her sister's closet. And that's where, the police officer, we imagine that Char like went out clubbing, to let off some steam and like get away from the house and like the sad vibes at home. And so that's where all of those pieces came from. And sort of thinking about what would he choose? He's in a woman's body, but what is he going to gravitate towards? And it's these more androgynous clothing styles. It's the strong jacket. It's the strong pant. There's a lot of shape that's reminiscent of his other outfit of what Vince Vaughn is wearing.
Yeah.
And then everything had to price point wise make sense for this family that's not super well off. So the jacket came from Amazon. That is an Amazon leather jacket. So, that's something that they could have afforded. And the jeans are Levi's and the boots are, Doc Martens. So they're all attainable, and they're all things that she could have had in Char's closet. So it all had to make sense. And then Catherine, in the fitting, we tried on 30, 40 jackets, but that one was the clear winner. But we had to try everything on, and sort of you start to find it. And it's one of the most exciting moments as you're getting closer to figuring out, okay, this is it, this is it, this is it. So once we landed on that, it was a very exciting day.
So I can just imagine, like, Josh, I could just imagine us, like, being in, like, a fitting room, like, for a costume for, like, a production. You and I both acted and stuff before. You imagine, like, having, like, your choice of, like, say 30, 40 different jackets. And the whole time you're just staring at the one jacket, like, I want that one.
You're like, that's like coming in.
I'll try this. Okay. Yeah, get off me. Like, can we go back to that one again? Try another one. Okay. Well, that's okay.
Yeah. And you don't know till you try things on. So much of it is you can think in your head, oh, this looks like it'll be the right thing. And then you get it on and you're like, oh, that's actually not right at all. That's why I love the fitting room. And also I call them, as soon as I'm allowed to reach out to the actors, I give them a call because I want to talk through, like, what's in their head. What are they thinking about? Are they thinking about costume? Do they have preferences or do they not care? I want to know where they are so we can be on the same ground together. So called Catherine immediately, called Vince immediately just to have a conversation and talk about it.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
I couldn't imagine being in a position of, having to wear, wardrobe and not having an opinion on how it's put together. That's mind-boggling to me because you're wearing it so long, and you got to make sure that it's not only comfortable, but it breathes.
Yes, exactly. And also we want to feel like the character. I mean, the minute that an actor is wearing something that doesn't feel right for their character, you can tell, they can't 100% escape into that, like, transform. And so you want them to be given all the tools possible for them to do their work. I liken it to a relay race. The director hands me the baton, I hand the baton to, the actor, then hair and makeup, then, we're all in this sort of team race together. And so it's not just me coming up with, you have to wear this. It's us building the character together. And that's the most fun part.
Okay. That's awesome.
I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, among the general public, when they think about how movies are made, that it's such an individual thing. The actor does this performance, and that's all you see, not really taking into account the vast number of people, the huge team that it takes to bring any story to life.
Completely. I mean, I think at the end of the day, all the people who worked on We Have a Ghost, I had like 17 people in my department. I mean, Gatsby, we had 60 plus people in our department.
I can imagine Gatsby.
Yeah. So you have a lot of people, and We Have a Ghost was sneaky in the fact that we had so many people. We had 73 principal actors. We had like 150 stunt actors. We had like over 2,000 backgrounds. So it's a lot of people that I have to dress every single one of them.
I'm gonna have to watch that movie again because I remember like there was quite a few like the principal actors and everything else. I mean, I just my God, like I mean, just that's so much.
So many people.
Like let me with your like there was an article I was reading that try to prep something like to be able to ask you a question with this, and I don't know if it really would be. I don't know if it would make sense, but I don't want to compare you to other people. I don't like doing that with anyone in any profession, unless it's like trade or contractor or something like that, where it's like, no, this guy sucks. Let's go to this guy right here, like it said. But I was reading up on Jack Black's costume designer. His tailor / costume designer has been for 20 plus years, and I was looking at a video where she was giving a tour of her closet. And it's nothing but fabric. It looks like this lady lives and breathes inside of a Joanne Fabrics. And then she goes to her office, and it's the same thing. Like she went to go move something, and a whole bunch of fabric tumbled down behind her. And she's like, "Well, thank God I moved." Like, Like I can only like so like. Does your work ever make its way home with you as far as like costume designing goes, like having like a whole range of different things? Or because like one thing as an artist is you don't just shut, people don't understand, you don't shut it off. You have to really try to do that. Like Josh and I have been writing partners for what, like 10 years now, Josh? Somewhere around that. And right, 2011, 12, 13, some,
Yeah, that would be more than 10 years.
ever since the day that you found me in a Walmart. But the thing is still not even joking. The thing is like, but with us as writers, we're always kicking ideas to each other constantly.
Mhm.
It, Christ's sake, he lives in Jacksonville, Florida. I live in Los Angeles. So if I have an idea, I have messaged him at like 1:00 in the morning before. I think I even woke you up recently around like I think 1:00 your time because I had an
Yeah.
idea, and you had to be at work in like 5 hours. But but
No,
like
I wish I had to be at work at 6 a.m. Then I could sleep in.
Oh, okay, sorry. You had to be at work. That's why you had to be at work. Well, I was your alarm clock. You're welcome. God,
Jerk.
just say thank you next time. I got you, buddy. But so with like working in costume design, like, do you ever bring the stuff home with you? Do you ever have like guests just like coming over and just be like, just what are you doing?
Oh yeah. I mean, early in my career, like it was everywhere all the time. Fabric, this, that. And especially, I lived in New York for almost 15 years, and those apartments are not very big.
No,
And so
they're closets.
I was always, stuff was exploding everywhere, and I even had a 10 foot by 10 foot storage unit, down the street from me that was packed to the brim. I moved to Virginia a couple of years ago, just because I travel for every movie. So I'm like, why am I paying all this rent in New York when I am never there? Like the year I made Way of the Ghost, I was in New York for 3 weeks, and I was like, I don't live here. So
yeah, I get it.
so I have a nice house. I have, a nice large storage space. So most of my stuff lives at my storage space. I've actually gotten rid of a lot of things because, I just buy new things on each production because each movie is so specific and what I need. So the stuff that I tend to keep are like accessories and jewelry, period stock, all those kinds of things. But any modern clothes is gone. I try to only keep vintage fabrics, no new fabrics. Because I just get overwhelmed and I don't want to deal with all of that stuff on my off time. But definitely, I'm in my office, my home office, and I'm surrounded by all my books and I collect movie memorabilia. So I have like my Jaws 3D trading cards on the shelf and all of that kind of stuff.
So yeah, I did too. I'm still waiting to buy a proton pack. That's the only thing I really want as movie memorabilia. Everything else, though,
and those Ghostbusters.
Hey, listen, man. I'm telling you, if I win the lottery, I'm going to show up at your house with an Ecto-1, with a spare jumpsuit and a spare proton pack, and you and I are going to drive around Jacksonville, kicking indoors of businesses with a trap with smoke billowing out of it, trying to charge them for the ghost that we just caught. Okay, and you're going to come with me. You're going to bring your kids. Child labor is going to happen. And
that doesn't sound like a bad way to spend a day.
I'm sure that they get a kick out of it.
We don't need to win the lottery to do this, right?
So, but we have to have the Ecto-1. We can't just show up in a Prius. Okay. Well,
if we're going to be driving around all day doing this, I'd rather have a Prius.
All right, I'll bring my Ghostbusters car magnet. But either way. But no, it's like I get what you're saying because it makes sense for you to live in Virginia. It absolutely does. I know, like Josh and I were trying to figure out like a way that we could live closer to each other because, I don't really need to be in LA to do what I am doing. As you said, you can always like just fly to set. Like if I had to come out to set for anything that's being filmed that I wrote or even help produce, I can just fly out here and stay for whatever time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I do now. I go back to New York and do quick jobs or see my friends and, it's a quick drive. So
yeah. Yeah, see, I relegated myself from New York City to North Jersey to Souterbrook, and it wasn't much cheaper there than it was in New York City. And you were living in a damn closet; it was just tiny. But Josh lives in the nice, semi-affordable town of Jacksonville.
Nice, semi-affordable.
Well,
no.
My $600 a month apartment is now almost like $2,000 a month. So it's like it's gone up quite a bit.
Yeah, property prices have gone up quite a bit here too. Rent's crazy for a lot of people, and you know what? Murder capital of Florida, baby.
Well, there's always yeah. At least there's always things to do.
No, never. There's nothing to do unless you have a Prius, and then you could drive to Orlando, where there are things to do.
Oh, okay. Oh God. So I mean,
see that was a bit of a weird tangent even for us.
Yeah, and you know what? It didn't even go anywhere.
No,
we're better than this, man. Like we usually actually have like a punchline somewhere.
Not really.
Then I am. I'm too good for you, Josh. I'm going out on my own. Solo
All
career.
right, I'll take later.
I'll take the wad. You keep the cast. Wait. That was actually very. Now. That sounded much dirtier than it was meant to sound. Okay, moving on. Away from that, I haven't even gotten to my F-bomb yet.
Well, just hold off on that. You know, you don't want to waste it like you did before.
Yeah, you're right. So
I guess we did talked a lot about the stuff that you're doing, Whitney, and where you've been. There's a question I've been dying to ask since I first reached out to you, and that is, when it comes to superheroes, capes or no capes?
Oh,
I knew you were going to ask that.
In terms of what context, though, I mean, there's so many different types of superheroes.
Well, just for your everyday, life-saving, casual superheroing.
I think the only cape that makes sense is Doctor Strange, because it actually does stuff. I think the cape gets in the way. Although,
it's a good answer.
Visually, it looks very cool and it has the gravitas. But, if you're trying to save people, that cape's going to get all up in the way. I deal with so much fabric on a daily basis, and it really can make you trip over yourself. So I would say capes are a problem, unless they help you out and, are almost like a person, like Doctor Strange's cape.
Where it's also a buddy,
Yes, exactly. That kind of cape I can work with.
The idea being, I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, for special events, break out the cape. But for just going to work,
no cape. The press conferences, the medal ceremonies, wear that cape.
That makes complete sense to me. The showpiece.
Exactly.
The showpiece.
White tie, red cape.
White tie. Oh my God. Maybe the guy sound more like he's a politician than an actual superhero.
You got to dress for the part.
Yep.
Oh God. Oh man. So what do you have on the horizon? Are you do you wait to get phone calls? Do you have to lobby to get yourselves future gigs and custom designing? How do you go about finding more work?
It's a mixture of things. I have an agent. I'm with UT. I've been with them for about 6 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they do a lot of searching for me. And then I have my collaborators I work with a lot, like Christopher Landon, I've done 4 projects with, and, I will follow that man anywhere. So next time he's got a project, I hope our timing works out. And I actually just started a project this week. So
nice. Okay.
I am in the midst of beginning prep on that.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. In case you did not know, that's one thing I actually meant to ask, bring up on the show. So thank you for reminding me about that one with the agency. Just so you know, it's not only writers or actors or directors that have agents. It goes in different departments of filmmaking. So agents exist for everything. So if
they sure do. And my agent specializes in below the line and animation. He has his own specialties, but usually, agents for actors are just actors, and agents for writers are usually just writers. So I have a below the line specialized agent, the part of UTA that I'm a part of.
Okay, nice. Well, that's seems like he stays pretty busy then. I mean, that's probably a better be below the line than like in the very, very specific one area kind of deal.
Yeah, when there's
Is that what you mean by below the line, that he works in different areas?
Yeah, cinematographers, production designers, costume designers. He does do anime, a whole bunch of different people. And I've got, two great agents on my team. So both Matt and Sarah,
Nice.
I love them. They're great.
Okay. Well, they're going to be like, they're going to watch the show. They'll be like, she really did this, huh? Staying out with these two guys.
No, I always shout out my agents, and also I'm a big union girl. I run 2 committees, and both of my 2 unions I'm one of the co-chairs on 2 committees.
See, Josh, this is what I'm talking about. This right here, had I had an agent like that way back when, that I would be so happy to send a shout out to. Our series would not exist. Just so you're in the loop, Sarah. Oh yeah, so his wife's name. Sarah was his wife's name. Whitney, I had an agent a long time ago. I want to say it was 2007, 2008. I was making headway, as a screenwriter, like while I was in film school, even sold a script. But an agent I signed up with, I don't think he ever did anything at all. Out of frustration, I wrote a condom commercial. I was a kid. I was stoned and I was drunk, so I don't remember writing it at all. But it got passed around. Ended up getting sold to Trojan. Someone someone showed, like, some kids that dad worked at Trojan as like one of the higher ups, and he knew someone in the industry, and they helped me sell it. My agent was knocking on the door for his cut. I could never even get a hold of this guy, but knocked on the door. Come to find out, he wasn't even an agent. Like, he didn't have anything at all. He had no licensing, no nothing, no certifications, nothing at all to be a literary agent. So when I met Josh, when we first started writing this one, it is you. when we were working on this one series a long time ago, I was annoyed because this agent had reached back out to me because he was trying to get back into the field. He was fresh off the streets, as he put it. He was homeless for a little bit. And so me and Josh were talking about this idea of bad agent, where this guy just absolutely sucks at being an agent. So we built like a whole personality for this character. And so me and Josh were just joking about this, about how this is a guy that we would not want to have our back at all. And made a short for sent it to Josh. We were both laughing about it. So hearing you shout out your agents, I'm like, I really wish I had that experience with an agent at one point.
I know. I mean, I have so many friends who've had, the roller coaster of all the different feelings, and I got really lucky. I really love them, and I've gotten some really great gigs because of them. I mean, Matt introduced me to Chris Landon, and we've now done 4 movies together, and he's one of my favorite people. Oh, yeah. So I'm very grateful for both my partnership with my agent and my partnership with Chris.
No, you having that kind of an amazing team is awesome. That's it's such a rare thing to hear, where it's like an amazing collaboration of minds on all fronts, especially in the entertainment industry. It's a rarity. It almost doesn't exist at all.
And we have a lot of creative conversations, like, what direction do we want my career to head? Like, what kind of projects are we looking for? Do I need to interview for this? Or should we pass on this one because it's not the right thing? I mean, these are the talks that we have every time that we communicate. And it's just so nice to have someone who's thinking about the long term and thinking about my career as a whole and where I'm headed and what I need and how people see me in the industry. And, I love doing horror movies, but it's not all that I want to do. And, I did this amazing film last fall that's coming out later this year, hopefully. That's a period movie. It's my first studio period film. And so it's so exciting to get to do clothes from 1950 to 1999. And that is not something, if you look at my IMDb, that I would be the most set up to do. But that's what in my heart I really want to do. And the fact that I got that chance, my agent pushed to get me that interview, and it all worked out thanks to him.
I have a question about this project coming up. Just a general question. You said from the 50s to 99, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. My question is, are there any Jinko jeans in it?
Not in this one because it's about three best friends from when they're born in 1950 to when they're in their 50s in 1999.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
adults
Yeah.
in the 90s section.
I just imagine them being like in their like 40s or 50s, just like walking around Jinko jeans.
Oh
Like,
my
just,
gosh. I'm like,
Well, I mean,
bring
they
me back
were.
to high school. The Junko jeans were ever in high school.
oh god, Jinko jeans, like the what is it? Everyone like Jinko jeans, rollerblading and stuff like that. Like, my god.
Yeah.
Starter jackets.
Steps.
Oh
Oh,
goodness.
the 90s.
My lord.
The 90s were quite a time. It was very fun to do the 1999 section of this movie though. And one of the scenes takes place in New Year's Day 2000. So I got to collect all these like Millennium sweaters and Millennium pins. And I loved that.
I've got a girl that I work with, I frequently work with, that made a joke about something. I was talking to this guy on set one time, and while we were talking, I threw this reference to this girl, and she like looks at me, just like cocks her head. I was like, looked at her like, well, you don't get the. I forget what the reference was, but she doesn't. She's looking at me like just confused.
Right.
Like, oh, that's right, you don't get the reference. Like, well, no, you're old. I'm like, like, how? Like it was like a Ron Burgundy moment. Like, what did you say?
Like how?
But,
oh my! How dare you? Yeah, but as the years
she-
go on, I'm like, oh yes,
she's like, yeah, yeah. She was like, dude, I was born in 2004. I'm like, it's like she's like, yeah, you have an entire lifetime of memories from before I even existed. You are prehistoric to me. I'm like, okay, like we're gonna have that kind of a problem here, huh? That's what I was
We
like.
gotta remember.
Like I tell you, you will never understand the magic that you missed from being raised in the 80s or 90s. You do not understand how awesome that time was. She's like, what? She's like, what was so great about it? I was like, well, you know how you've been staring at your phone the entire time? She's like, well, what? Like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The what? You're missing eye contact. You're missing out on life. You're staring at whatever you're staring at.
Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 18. It was like there was this freedom that I loved. And it was great to call your best friend like on the landline, like, hey, can I walk over to your house?
Yeah, well, even the phones when you're like 18, come on, it's like it's like a Nokia or like a
I had the
like,
Razor or whatever.
Oh yeah, like they're really you had to have if you had a phone that had a camera on it, you were the shit. Like,
yeah, I didn't have one of those until college.
that was a sign of status. Like, excuse me, let me get my flip phone with the camera on it. Oh, okay. Anyway, Josh, go ahead. You're starting off. You got something to say here. I'm gonna let you say something.
No, I'm just thinking back to my first cell phone.
Oh, we're all flashing back, huh?
The Nokia, playing Snake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, the bill, which was, for some reason $1,000, and you can never really understand why.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, texting wasn't free at the time, so texting wasn't included. It was like X amount of cents per text, or sometimes over $1 per text.
That's why the texting shorthand originated, right?
Yeah,
because
you didn't
per letter.
hit the 2 like 3 times to get to the E.
Watch it, but you know what I miss about that? I miss seeing someone so pissed off and angry that they're sending a text, and there's like just hitting the numbers like so much just to send. Here's my one per episode. Fuck you. Like, it's like, dude, it took you 30 seconds to say that to somebody. Just call them really quick and hang up. But
do you remember that there were like world texting championships?
Yes. Yeah.
I what?
Yeah.
They were trying to set speed records for sending texts, and a teenage girl always won.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna have to like watch. This has to be on YouTube. I'll have to look this up really quick because this is something I've never heard of.
I think it's ripe for adaptation for the big screen.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, you know that I don't like texting anyways, so I hate texting.
And you're not a fan of phone calls either.
I am busy.
Emails aren't your thing.
I'm just bad at communication. Unless it's like in person, I'm bad. Like, just like, dude, I texted you. It's like, when? All day. Oh, there you are. I Facebook messaged you. It's like, no, you didn't. Oh, you did. Look at that. I called you. When? Yes. Oh, yeah. I don't look at my phone. I don't. My phone's never really even near me. If I had my way, I'd have like a house phone with a landline and an answering machine. I'd get back to you when I got back to you.
I'm the other way in my, being a costume designer. I need my staff to be able to text me pictures from the store. This is happening on set. And like, I have an Apple Watch so I can look at photos and look at text and see who's calling me. I have to be sort of attached to my communication when I'm at work, like all the time. So I try to tune out when I'm not working. I mean, that's part of the reason I moved away from New York and have a house and have a backyard and can go for walks in the park and unplug for a bit, because my job is so intense, both technology wise and just the hours and the amount of communication. So it's nice to sort of take the break when I can.
I did want to ask you a question. I ask this pretty much anyone that I work with. Like if I'm working on like an A-list set or like an independent set, I usually ask this of certain people. Usually like members of the crew or the areas that don't require you to be like on the marquee or on the poster or stuff like that. But with what you do, I know like you can walk safely around and no one would even know who you are, but what you've done. Not to demean anything that you do. Don't get me wrong when I say that, but is it like a relief for you that you can see how people enjoy your movies and that you can go watch these movies with these people and see their reactions to, like, say, Freaky? Vince Vaughn coming out, like when he steals that mask in the beginning of the movie, he puts it on. Having someone like, when I saw the movie, I heard someone say, I was like, that is a freaky ass mask, dude. Like, it's like he looks like he's a damn serial killer. Like, just I've heard people say that. It's got to be a huge compliment to you to be able to go see these movies and actually have people comment, or like say like with We Have a Ghost, how he died, he was killed wearing the bowling shirt.
Yeah.
Like that's what he had for the rest of his afterlife, was a bowling shirt. So, which is of course like a large part of like the backstory to his death. But I'm not going to get any spoilers, Josh. But he is the dead guy in a bowling shirt.
He is, yes. But, he is a ghost. We can tell from the trailer.
yeah. So it's like, what's it like for you to see these things and have people like? Have you had like a great time like hearing people's reactions to things that you've made happen on the screen just through the costume department alone?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's also great because I let my work speak for itself. Like, there's a reason I hated acting class. There's a reason I hated the spotlight. I wanted the work that I do to be front and center. There's nothing like sitting in a theater though and seeing your name up on your title card. It's a pretty amazing feeling to both just see everything that you worked so hard on for months and months and months. And yeah, getting to hear people's reaction. I feel like a secret agent almost, because I can like listen and to hear what people are saying, because they don't know who I am, which is great. I don't want to be famous. I want the people to know my work. I want people to know that I'm a good designer and that, the right people want to hire me again. Like, I want the level of notoriety to help me get the kind of more jobs that I want to get and just keep working in this industry. That's sort of my like sweet spot.
Okay. Gotcha. So I was curious. I wanted to ask that. I didn't want to forget to ask you that.
Yeah. I don't need to have my face plastered anywhere. I'd rather have my work be talked about. And, it is nice to have articles talk about it. It's nice to do the PR side of things. It's overwhelming sometimes, but it is great to help, showcase what I am proud of.
Well, don't worry. If you don't want people to know who you are, like by face, you're on the right show to do it. Okay? So,
it's true.
Well, listen. We have a few people. Like, we have a few people that are heads in like some parts of the industry following us. We have our personal love, Kevin Smith, that follows us. But we worldwide, we don't really do too good in our home country. But we are on Jackson. We were on Jacksonville's top 100 things to do on a Friday night.
Amazing. I love it.
So we have that.
You're winners.
So if you go to Jacksonville, you might get tackled now, but we don't know if that's because they recognize you from the show or if it's just because you're in Jacksonville. So, it's like it's really a heads up there. I don't know about that one, but
Yeah, it could go
Josh,
either way.
yeah, it could go either way. It's like, oh my god, I'm famous. Like as they're like mugging you, it's like, I'm sorry, who are you?
I've actually done 2 movies set in Florida, so I do a lot of like looking up on Florida locales and people.
What parts of Florida?
The one I did called 3 Months, that one's set in Hollywood, Florida. So, north of Miami. So it's set in 2011, Hollywood, Florida. So very specific time and place. I actually trolled YouTube and Flickr and people's, personal photo accounts, but I found someone like strapped a camera in 2011 to their bike and just biked down the entire Hollywood, Florida boardwalk. And so I just got to see tons of great research and people on the boardwalk we actually filmed on. So that's the kind of deep dive research I do. I look everywhere, from books to watching contemporary movies of whatever year it is that I'm working in. I look at magazines, yearbooks. I actually just bought like 10 yearbooks for my current project for a specific year, just looking at, photos. So going on eBay, looking at all of that kind of stuff. And then a lot of people have public folders on Flickr and Shutterstock, and I just steal their family photos. Very useful.
It's like, you and your family can look at these, and I'm going to look at them now too.
Yeah, thank you. They're public. I will take them for my use only. But it's still very helpful.
I know. It's just how you said it. Is like
I know.
And now they're my.
They're my photos. So creepy of me.
If I said something like that, law enforcement would be called.
Well, it's different for us, man. We're both 2 bearded dudes that look like we're homeless, and she looks like the career professional here. I've got the damn Mario cap and like a Richard Simmons action figure up here.
I love it.
Like, I mean, we can't say it. I'm already weird enough here. Like, you at least have kids to take in public with you, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's okay. He's a dad." With me, like, I mean, the friends' kids I hang out with, or if I go do anything one-on-one, none of them are white kids, so I just look like the guy that just like dragged the kid off with me somewhere. So I don't have that.
Not a great look, yeah.
Yeah. Plus I have that foul mouth. Like I can't like. There's no one would ever believe I'm a dad. Like, but no. So it's like that's. I'm gonna stop joking about this because I don't need people to send me more hate mail than I've already gotten on the show before. So Josh, what do you got?
A couple of things. I would like to get your professional opinion on something. Brandon and I, we have not so much a debate going about our favorite films, but there is a bit of tension.
There is no tension.
Tell me more.
Well, you see, you might have figured out Ghostbusters is Brandon's favorite movie by far.
It's everyone's, yeah.
No, that's definitely not.
Yeah, whatever.
Whereas mine is Back to the Future. From a costuming standpoint,
Ghostbusters.
Which do you think wears it better?
Ooh, I think that's a really tough one because those are 2 prime examples of legacy designs that have stuck with the culture for really long, since they came about. Like Marty's vest and Doc's jumpsuit. Those you can sort of recognize anywhere. I actually got to do a Back to the Future themed commercial with the 2 of them.
Very
for 2015 Back to the Future Day. We did a Toyota commercial, and they're 2 of the greatest guys.
I have seen that.
Yes, I worked on that.
That's awesome.
But I would say, in terms of like the Ghostbusters jumpsuits, it's really tough. It's hard to say. They're both very huge. Personally, for me, though, I'm a Back to the Future girl. I have a poster on my wall in my living room of Back to the Future. So.
So remember how I said that she's welcome back on the show at some point? No, I'm joking. No, it's like I enjoy Back to the Future. There's this one day where I was just I told Josh that I was going to watch Back to the Future and I was going to point out every single fallacy in the series, and I didn't even get past the first movie before Josh. And this is a man who has never outwardly yelled at me that I, to my knowledge, have not ever pissed off this much. But he was livid with me. Like, did everything but curse me. Did everything but curse me out, like, through messaging. He called me a douchebag, but there weren't like a whole lot of colorful words there. And then I had to like extend Olive Branch, like, okay, these movies don't entirely suck. Like, just like.
Well, it's kind of like how people have. Sorry to interrupt. It just sort of people have issues with some of the specific science and Happy Death Day to You, and to them, I'm like, well, do you even want to watch a movie? Because the thing about the joy of movies is that you can sort of get off beyond some of those details. At least I'm that movie watcher where I'm like, give me the story, give me the feeling that the movie brings, the emotions of it. And so maybe some movies don't make 100% sense, but I am the movie watcher who does not care. I want to be taken on a journey. And so I'm willing to like forget some of those things.
Oh yeah, no. I think the thing I messed with Josh about Back to the Future, and it's like I enjoy the movies. I do. I think that they're great movies. I love the attention to detail that they have in them. I always did like that. One thing I've always cracked up, the only thing I've ever cracked up at was Doc Brown's biggest thing about how you have to be incognito when you're going back in time. Incognito. And not only did this man invite Marty for a photo op in front of the clock for the clock tower before it got installed. He also saved Clara Clayton to where it's no longer the Clayton Ravine. Like he changed history because he thought she was hot.
Well, first of all,
no, he saved her because she was in danger. Then he realized who she was.
Explain what had happened yet. So what's he supposed to do? She was supposed to die. Well, let's take her out back and, you know.
Well, in all fairness, like
for Captain Kirk.
In all fairness, Captain Kirk did it.
Well, that's Kirk.
I'm not even a Star Trek fan, but it's like Captain Kirk. He fell in love with a woman when he went in the past. He saved her. And then because he saved her, I don't know how the hell it happened, but all of a sudden the Nazis won World War II. And they became like the dominant power in the world. So he just pretty much shoves her into traffic. Or no, he lures her into traffic. It was messed up. Like, he lures her into traffic. And then he turns to Spock, and Spock holds him while they listen to her get hit by a car. Like,
time travel's real messy. Real messy.
But no, like Happy Death Day to You, I actually I liked it because unlike like what I liked about Happy Death Day to You is the fact that it wasn't just one thing. The movies too. I don't like sequels. I usually don't like sequels. There's a lot of movies I can think of that should have stopped at the first movie. Like with me, a big thing is Saw. I think Saw ended in the most horrific way possible, and it just making a franchise around it cheapened the blow. Same with Scream, because look at Scream, where it's like the same stuff over and over and over and over. And over.
I am a Scream fanatic over here.
I like the Scream movies, but I'm like, how many psychos can put on this mask and do this thing at this point?
I'll vote for many. Exactly, I'll take all of them.
But
everyone's different. Everyone's got different, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I don't ever like to be in anyone's taste in anything.
Unless it's mine in Back to the Future that one time. Am I gonna let it go? No.
I was doing it. I was doing it as a joke, and I felt bad afterwards. But the thing is, like,
hold on. That's the thing that irritated me. Not the fact that you didn't actually feel that way, but that you knew that it was irritating, and you're just like, you know what? Let me just keep pressing this button. What happens if I keep pressing this button? That's the part that got me irritated.
I played FAFO with you, didn't I? After a round, I found out. So, what do you want from me?
No, but, gotcha.
But no, what I was going to say is that what I liked about Happy Death Day to You is that it wasn't like the first movie. Like it had this situations going back to the first movie, but it wasn't anything like it. It was like a whole different story with the same character, but it was a different story. And that's what I liked about it. I'm like, okay, when I first saw Happy Death Day to You, I'll be honest with you, I rolled my eyes. I'm like, oh God. Like the first one was okay, but come on, man. Like, is she going to go back? This girl's going to go back in time again? And then it's like, I watched the movie like, oh, okay. All right. This is actually pretty cool. Like,
It was very fun, and like I loved the first movie, and then my agent sent me the script for the second one, and I was like, absolutely, I want to do this because the script was so different from the first movie. It was a great. Again, Back to the Future being one of my favorite movies. Like my whole family is obsessed with time travel and time loop movies. Groundhog Day, another one of my favorites. So
oh yeah, that movie's amazing.
jumped at the chance to get to design it.
No, it's awesome. Like I really enjoyed it. And there were even like correct me if I'm wrong, but there were some like minor differences. I forget the name of the baby face killer thing, like the big baby mask. I forget, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But were there actually differences in those costumes? Like it looked like it was updated to a degree.
The band T-shirt that Tree wears, I changed the lettering and the location, so that shirt looks the same on first glance, but in the alternate timeline, it's different. And then, the fact that her mom is still alive in this alternate timeline really affects her wardrobe because she would go shopping with her mom, and so that's why everything feels so different from her character in her dimension.
Gotcha. Okay. See, I knew it. I was looking at this. I was like trying to figure it out. Like I'm usually pretty good with like attention to detail, with even like the small stuff that people miss.
Mm-hmm.
Doing like the sets I've worked on. Like I've had to do the script, like the screenwriting script supervisor. I've had to do this where I had to like pay attention to continuity numerous times. So like usually if there's like a change in something, I'm like, oh wait, what's different? Like
yeah, you're like, what's happened? And that was my little Easter egg to fans to be like, have you noticed that something's different? We're not in our own reality. We're in a different one.
See, that's pretty awesome. I like that. Like I like the call to the attention to detail. Just like, okay, if you don't like the blink and you'll miss it stuff. Or in this case, if you're just not paying attention, you'll miss it. But
yeah, I love doing all those little references. Like in Freaky, at the end in the dance sort of thing, I have a Freddy Krueger lookalike in the background, and I like doing little Easter eggs like that for people. It's very fun.
Oh, yeah. So, see, Josh, if we ever get 9 to 5 Workaholics off the ground, we'll have an Easter egg in the back of Bad Agent.
In the back of Bad Agent.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the poster. It's hanging up in the short.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Easter eggs. Yeah. Not just for rabbits anymore. But I'll chime in with a little bit of for Happy Death Day to you. I'm also a big fan of time travel and time loop movies, especially. What's that? The Map of Tiny Little.
Oh yeah, Map of Tiny Perfect Things.
Yes, enjoyed the crap out of it. Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge of Tomorrow.
One of my favorite movies. It's like one of my favorite more recent films. I watch it all the time.
It's good.
Yeah,
and I couldn't imagine, after watching Happy Death Day, it was like nobody's really tried to do a follow-up to a time loop movie. So instantly my curiosity is piqued. Like, how do you do that? Because it hasn't been done, at least as far as I know.
Yeah, completely. And Chris is great like that, where he's just pushing, like, what else can we do that's different and new? And he's just the best.
Yeah, I'd love to.
We hope we get to do the third one because his idea is amazing. I hope they let us one day do it.
He's got an idea for like a third Happy Death Day.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be awesome. I'd be down to see that.
Yeah, it would be really amazing. I just hope that they let us do it because it would be a blast. And Chris and Jess are two of my favorite people. So I'm like, let us hang out all day, all the time.
Yeah. But I do have to get going, guys. I will let you guys feel free to hang out if you guys want to keep talking, like doing the interview, Josh. I have to get going.
Well, we've hit our allotted time for the evening,
and it's also like a lot later for you guys than it is for me, isn't it?
Yeah,
because it's just now dark outside for me, and it's probably been dark for a while for you guys. So, but yeah, no, I'm sorry. I work healthcare part time. I work rehabilitative healthcare. So I do apologize. It's like working a little extra tonight, so Whitney, like, where can people follow you? Where can they see your work? is there like, if you're comfortable offering out your social media details, like for people to go follow you?
I'm on Instagram, WAA Costume Design. I'm on Twitter, Whitney A. Adams. And then I have my website, which is whitneyadams.com.
Okay. Well, what I will do is through the WADcast page, I will follow you on Instagram, and we'll actually be able to post something. Back in. Yay. And I'll talk about this, try to get people to this episode. So, yeah. And Josh, would you like me to give mine? What do you want to go?
I mean, if you want.
Okay.
You're just telling people where to yell at you at. That's fine.
It has happened, and it's okay. Like, again, my last name is Junk. I don't really get offended by that. It's okay. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow me, you can always follow me on Instagram. The name is underneath my box here, bjacksman1982. You can follow me on Facebook. I've got like at least 200 friend requests now. I feel popular. If I was like this back in high school, I'd be the man, but I wasn't. So there's a long list of people on Facebook. Don't send me a friend request, but you can follow us, the WADcast, on Facebook, facebook.com/the WADcast. Same with Instagram. Just type in the name, go to the search, the WADcast, like, follow. That's all you have to do. You'll notice our page because it'll be a black picture with a white banner that says WADcast in it. So follow us. Come see my face and come see Josh's much prettier face. You can catch all the updates on what we're going to do. The WADcast.com will be up and running hopefully sometime this month. We'll see. Is it up and running now, Josh? You made that face.
Yeah, because you're like, it'll hopefully be up and running this month. And I'm like, no, I don't see that happening.
Huh. Then it will not be. We have a lot of things coming your way in the next year or so. Hopefully a new animated series coming soon. We have some new stuff that we're working on for, our little brand of humor here. And I will try to keep my much darker humor to a more family-friendly atmosphere for this. But either way, that's where you can follow me. Josh, I'll let you finish this up. Whitney, it has been awesome to meet you and talk to you. I look forward to hopefully having you back on the show someday again. I would love to have you back.
Thank you. It's been so nice to be here, and it's so fun chatting about all the things. Yeah.
We kind of like go off tangent a little bit once in a while.
That's fun.
Quite often, but
conversational podcast,
Well, yeah, absolutely. But either way, you guys have a great night, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday, happy Cinco de Mayo. Revenge of the Sith is tomorrow. That's when you say it. Revenge of the Sith, the 6th, not Revenge of the 5th. So either way, yeah, Josh, it's tomorrow. Don't make that face. It's tomorrow.
I'm pretty sure it's today.
No, it's tomorrow.
It's
Revenge of the 6th.
Days,
Yeah, but the thing is, there's Revenge of the 6th. Aside from the X, it's Sith. So Revenge of the 6th. Thank you.
Yeah,
I got this.
I don't think you're right.
I think I'm right. And if I close out first, I'm right.
Hoisted by, well, I guess that's his petard. Well, if anybody's interested in the things that I do, you can go to wadcomedia.com. That has all the links, all of them. And, there's a Patreon there. I don't recommend donating to it. I know, weird that I would say don't give me money, but there's a merchandise shop. And if you feel froggy, then maybe you might see a shirt or design that you like, and at least you'll have something tangible in your hands to show that you support what we do. Otherwise, you're just kind of obligating me to do stuff that I don't want to. So there's that. WADcomedia.com. Whitney, at the end of every show, I do this thing. It's like a final message. I'd hate to say it's like motivational, but it's maybe a bit of a kick in the keister. So this is what that sounds like. Starts off with a little bit of music, set the mood. There we go. Hi, kids. You know what time it is. We've done this 129 times. That'll be 129. So we're gonna do it again, except maybe just a slight bit of an alteration. First of all, it begins always like this. The only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. You need to find the motivation to do the thing that you want to do. If you want to be a creator, start creating. You don't have to ask permission to be a writer. You don't have to ask permission to be an actor. You just have to be willing to do it. And I don't mean do it tomorrow. I mean, do it today. Because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And now this is the bit of the variation. When it comes to what you do, and you get to a point where you're good at what you do, don't know why Brandon's calling me during the show. When you get to the point where you're good at what you do, never forget your value. Never forget your worth and what you bring to the table. I think I speak for not only myself, but for Brandon when I say that we stand with the writers and the WGA and feel that it's time to listen to what they're saying. And absolutely let the strike carry on until they get what they feel they deserve for all of the work that they do. That's just where we are. So, for Brandon, I'm Josh. Whitney, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Ditto. It's been lovely. Thank you for having me.
We are going to get out of here. We'll be back next week, same time as always, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Have a great week.